I'd like to welcome everybody out to the Monday, May 7th, 2018 Annual Town Council meeting. Dr. Ryan's usually here to help us out with some questions. He was not able to make it this evening, and I'm not sure about John Badowski. Hope he's feeling better, and I've not heard from John, but we'd like to excuse them unless they show up. The first item would be any public comment concerning any issue that's not on the agenda. I know there's at least one person here, maybe two, that would like to take a few moments. If you'd stand up and state your name and things for the record, that would be well appreciated.
My name is Kit Kosikowski, and thank you very much for letting me come here this evening and speak to you. The reason I'm here is because I am running for Wasatch County Attorney, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about me and what my qualifications are. I've been an attorney for more than 25 years. I'm licensed to practice law in Virginia and Utah. My practice areas are environmental law, land use law, and administrative law. And administrative law is a very important skill set for the county attorney to have because it is the law of how government... Hi, John.
How are you?
So anyway, administrative law is a really important skill set for the county attorney to have because that is the law of how government agencies go about making their decisions. And some people think it's kind of boring, but it's not really because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's always applied in the context of a particular decision. So a land use decision is different from a permitting decision, is different from a tax decision. So the processes that government agencies have to follow would be different in each of those areas. I've worked all over the United States, and I have advised all levels of government, both federal, state, and local. I've also worked for a lot of members of industry, such as Exxon Minerals. I spent a lot of time out here in the West during the 1980s, helping Exxon develop a very big molybdenum property in Nevada. And I was responsible for all of the environmental permitting for that particular property. The reason I'm running for this office is because of the really unprecedented growth that is going on in the county. I've talked to a lot of people, and that is the #1 issue on everyone's minds. And it certainly is a big issue out in the area where I live, which is in the Jordanelle. We are looking at many thousands of ERUs on the slate to be approved out there. And a lot of this development is meaning that lots of very large corporations are coming in. And these very large corporate interests are really used to getting their own way. They have lots of money behind them. And I think that probably the current approach that is being employed by the county attorney's office, which is really geared towards a very small community and an agricultural community, is not the best approach for dealing with these very large corporate interests that are coming in. And I think I have the background that is able to deal with this unprecedented growth. So that, in a nutshell, is my background, and one of the very last things I wanted to do was to invite you to a debate on May 22nd, which will be with all 4 of the candidates for Wasatch County Attorney, and that debate will be on Tuesday, May 22nd, and it will be at 6 p.m., and it will be at the Abington Senior Living Center, which is right across the street from the library. So at that time, you'll be able to hear all 4 candidates for this office, and you'll be able to maybe make a good decision about them. Yes, sir.
Quick question, so when you say 4 candidates, I think there's 4 Republican candidates?
And there's no
And
Democrat.
no Democrats. So
Right.
this is the real
The
election,
real election is
4 to
the
1.
primary,
the
right.
primary.
Right, because
Okay.
whoever wins the primary will be the
Has no
only
opponent.
name on the November ballot. Right, so if you're a Democrat and you want to have a choice, register to be a Republican for just a little
For just a
while.
week.
Yeah, right, right. Okay, well, thank you all very much, I
Thank you.
really appreciate it.
Is there any other individuals that might have something, an issue they'd like to bring up before we get into the regular session? Okay. We'll go on to business, item number 2, which is business license applications. We received one, which is Daniel Creek Construction, which is a renewal. Haven't had any kind of complaints on it or not, and but I'm sure the council feels comfortable with me signing that. Maybe Hugh Barker's business. So that is the only business license, business that we have. That was just on item number 3, which would be selection and/or approval or discussion on the town branding. We were presented this little packet last week of a lot of different versions. I currently kind of like the one Mary's currently using. I don't know if we could like to have a discussion. I'm certainly open to it, and some people feel stronger than others. And open up to the public as well. If you had a chance to see some of these, it might be good. This would be for our letterhead, instead of just a blank piece of paper and envelopes. Not really it is going to be our logo or slash our brand for our town.
Which is the one we
What are you using?
currently use?
Which one is she using?
That's a good question because a couple look the same. Do you have one piece of paper, Mary, that might have that logo on it?
So it's the one that has the full address.
Full address, so this one
I
will
think
go
it
back.
should be the very last one.
So, full address. I think any comment from either the public or the council, or something can change at other times. I just,
I really like the dates, Chip. If we can incorporate the dates on it.
You put right underneath the, down above that.
you know, I like the older date and the new date, if it's combined. I like our older date, 1898. I mean, that's when.
With the address?
Yeah, with the address. I just think if we can just slide that up under the town and then keep her address the same.
Down below the line. To put the dates above the line. Between
It gives us a,
below kind of a thing.
Kind of add to the dates to the current one kind of being used.
Yeah.
yeah.
Any comments?
Sounds like a good idea.
All right. Probably just do this in motion, John. Any opinion?
It looks great to me.
It looks fine to me.
Chair will entertain a motion then to accept that branding as stated with the little change that Eric had mentioned and.
I'd like to make a motion that, between the town of Daniel and just below that, and above the line, we put founded 1898 / incorporated 2006. And then below the line, leave the address and everything else the same.
You have a motion? You're a second? Second. Motion is second. Any last discussion on the logo? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this is item number 4. We're gonna set a public hearing for the Armstrong Huntsman zone change. So I think we got a recommendation from planning to set up the public hearing, and so that's what's on the agenda. Anyone have anything they'd like to discuss or comment about that, or any, ask the applicant that's here before we set the motion, or excuse me, before we set the public hearing, or what's the council think?
kind of put it up on the board so we see what,
We'll be probably, from the public hearing side, we'll be, if you have questions tonight, certainly ask them, then we'll have a public hearing, well, they'll really present probably in
Oh,
full detail, and then they'll come back after the public hearing, where we'll discuss it, and then,
Does everybody know where the property is? What we're talking about? Maybe that's a good idea.
Mike, you just take your full name for the record.
Where would you want me to put this, Eric?
I'm gonna come hold it.
Okay. I'll speak into the mic.
Okay.
So my name is Mike Johnston with Summit Engineering here in Heber City. And Robert Armstrong is here, and he and Shirley Huntsman are requesting a zone change of the Huntsman property on Mill Road. McAllister's here. This is Wolstenholme, Orton, and Mayor, Jesse Mayer lives in this house right here. So Mill Road hits right near the intersection of Highway 40 and Mill Road. Mill Road's fully improved in front of this property by Heber City when they built that Heber, not sure what it's called.
Meadows.
Heber Meadows. And there's an access from this property out to Highway 40, a 40-foot easement, and there's also length along this road, and Wolstenholme does have a right-of-way access, driveway access through the middle of it, which will remain. It's for driving and utilities. So this is the request. This area is shown on your, when you were incorporated as the economic, or what's it called?
Enterprise zone?
Enterprise zone, which means there's tax incentives for, in an enterprise zone for developing commercially and creating jobs. So this is in that enterprise zone. It's very close to the highway. It's on, has access to the highway and Mill Road, which is a collector street.
Do you know in that zone, if I haven't seen that in, but that zone in that particular spot, I mean, my business is in that same zone, there's different ones, but they're patchy and kind of things, I know there's one along there.
This whole triangle,
Up to how far?
It goes
You
a
know?
long ways, I've seen it.
I can tell you,
Up the highway?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite a ways.
Yeah, ours goes up the
But
highway.
300 feet from the highway, I mean, from this, it just stays on that 300
it goes to
foot.
the 3,000, extension of 3,000 south. So that triangle of 3,000 south, if 3,000 south went through.
It never was.
So it's yeah, it's
So the zone takes that whole corner up to that if
Yes.
the road- okay.
yes, the extension of 3,000 south. And then it goes along the highway,
The 300 feet.
300-foot width. So we feel this is an appropriate place if you're going to be putting commercial in your town. That's a decision of your town. Do you have commercial, and if so, where? But there's not a lot of places I can think of that make sense, except on this end of town and on the 3,000 south, Highway 189 end of town. So I see those as the two legitimate places. I'm not sure anywhere else is, but that's your decision as a town council. So Robert would like to set a public hearing, and we can answer questions here too. I know it's not a public hearing, but we're here.
You know, if the council wants to, great, if not, we'll probably hear it all the public hearing, I'd like to, if I move forward, to have the public hearing and get into the nuts and bolts of it. So, if you have any more questions, certainly ask.
And if you have any questions of me, same. Planning looked at it and forwarded it to you, it's at the public hearing. We thought we'd have a joint public hearing.
do you have a type of business in mind to put into there?
Sort of.
Okay.
Flex space that would be open-ended for office, warehousing, fabrication.
Construction yard, yeah, follow the rules.
For our new clerk, if anyone speaks, we just want to make sure she knows all the names and things, so even from the audience, okay. And everyone's welcome to come up. We
So
just-
we don't have a business yet that would go there, but it would be built for a, there's a flex building that's been built across the highway or Whittison's Landing is a flex building down on Daniels Road. Buildings that are flexible for tenant space.
Have you considered the access for the commercial side versus the access off residential road? And thought about that impact with regards to the Mill Road access as far as business side versus the business coming from a different access?
Well, Mill Road is a collector road.
It is.
Some places in Heber, it'll become arterial, so it's a major street that all local streets funnel into. That is the most likely access for people coming to this place. I think we don't anticipate semi-trucks. And it's not that kind of yard. So most access would be off of Mill Road, which is an appropriate access. Highway 40 is not really built right now as an access, but we do have a right-of-way to it.
Well, these are probably a lot of questions, I guess we'll get into the public hearings, so.
Yeah, I know there's fear from the planning commission of trucks rumbling through town to this small little flex retail building. You have a lot more trucks in town than this would ever create already. So,
Does anyone have any?
I could come up with, I'm sorry, Chip.
No.
I could come up with some IT Institute of Traffic Engineering calculations on what type of traffic you can anticipate on a spot like this.
You know, I think in the public hearing, there's probably gonna be some of those questions that might, I don't know how in-depth you are gonna be able to analyze it, and I don't know the questions that you're gonna be asked, but I bet those are gonna be some of
Okay.
the questions asked.
Yeah.
More than likely, the trucks are gonna be coming in from 40 than coming in from somewhere else.
If trucks were coming to this
If,
site.
if there was something to supply the businesses, other than
Yeah.
that, it's gonna be local people coming in.
Pickup trucks and maybe a box truck occasionally.
Any other
Thank you.
questions or anything that would like to ask Mike or ask the applicant?
Thank you, council.
If not, the chair will entertain a motion to set a public hearing for the Armstrong Huntsville rezone.
So moved.
We have a first. Okay, we have a second. Any last discussion on it?
Yeah, when is it?
I was just gonna say. So this will be one of a few that we're gonna have in the next few months. You were talking about combined, so your next meeting would be,
I don't think we have enough noticing for this month, meeting,
okay,
which would be the 23rd, so we're gonna need a 14-day notice. So that would put us out to June 20th, would be the next combined meeting, the next planning meeting after this one, because we don't have enough time unless you want to hold a special meeting. 14.
I don't mind moving in and having a second one planning, but I guess we're just, what, 1 week off from having that? We're just shy of the 14 for
Yeah,
tomorrow's
we're-
publication or what?
Yeah, we're shy of the 14th for the notice going out.
14th from today is the 21st.
Yeah, but it won't go in the paper. You have to go off the paper. That's when it's published.
So then it'd be next council meeting.
Yeah, it would be the following planning meeting, which would be the 20th of June, unless we hold a special meeting for a public hearing.
And we've usually done that when we combine it, but I don't know if we've done one just for that, come together in the middle of the week to put that together.
Yeah, well, and we could
Rob,
do,
Rob, are you pressed for timing, or, I mean, I know you probably want it sooner than later, but it's a couple of
Was
weeks.
there a time that time of the year, I don't remember, that the zones get?
September,
Okay.
that would be the normal sequential time.
No, I don't think it's anything, but you said a combined meeting, what was the other one?
Well, in the past, we have had council meeting with the planning, and/or the planning met with the council, so all of us could make the decision together and make some decisions, so.
I'm good with the normal schedule.
Any difference to you as far as date on?
no. So June 20th? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, I'm thinking that, that'd be the next compliance as soon as we could have it, because we can't have it for our next council, right? We're just a little shy of having it for June 1st, excuse me, the first week in June,
The second one be the
because of the Wednesday and the
following,
posting.
Can we have on the June council meeting?
We could, except for planning requested it to be on a Wednesday. We have some members that can't come on.
Oh.
What if we put our meeting off for 1 week, right?
Well, if we're gonna do that, we should probably just hold a special meeting for the public hearing.
So I'm fine with whichever, we have about 4 coming up,
Right.
so.
And so if we hold a special meeting for the public hearing, then we can do that on Wednesday following. But,
They won't be the soonest Wednesday then to hold that special.
30th?
yeah, 30th of this month.
I do a walking calendar.
No, I'm looking at.
Oh, there you go. I didn't see the phone, I was like, you're good. So,
But, I mean, 7 days plus the 23rd is.
no, no, it's just.
So fun.
Rain Man.
It's not a graduation.
So the only thing we could do is we'd have to check and see if this building's available.
The next time.
So
Last
why
day
would
is
So May
you say
30th?
fine
My
with the
graduation.
regular set day, right?
Well, what we're saying is, for our next council meeting, we don't have time to post it, and then the next meeting would be a combined, and we have about 4 public hearings between now and July 1st that we have to do.
Yeah.
So either we have that special one for this, we're trying to get it done and out of the way, because we're still gonna have the, well, that's planning on a Wednesday we're gonna do it, so we're gonna have that first one combined. And then a few weeks later, we'd have our regular one, which we have at least our budget, 2 public hearings for our budgets in June as well.
But we don't have anything planned for June 20th.
That's planning,
Yeah, just
that's
a
a planning
planning
meeting, so we don't.
And I think Rob said he was fine with that, so.
It's fine with waiting till ours or going to the
Going to the
planning?
20th.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, so let's,
So June 20th,
Okay?
and that's if the room's available.
Well, June 20th is scheduled for us.
Already from that time, great. And that's at,
7 o'clock.
So June 20th at 7 o'clock will be the public hearing.
Okay.
No more discussion on that, we'll move on to item number
We
5.
just have to vote. That was the discussion.
Oh, there we go, see, I'm already looking down the road. So, with that date being in mind, we had the first, we had the second, we've got the date now. Any last discussion on the date, if not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Now,
Now it's done.
now it's done.
Well, 23rd, don't worry.
And item number 5, we are going to postpone till later down in the meeting, since I put this on the agenda, and now we'll be putting that into our discussion in a closed session this evening. So we'll not be going over number 5. Number 6, we'll have set public hearing for wages. So when Lynn and I and Mary worked on the budget, and Mary and I worked on the budget, and things were coming up with all the different line items. I think we tried to get to a point to where employees were making, well, I'll just put it this way. When we're doing the budget as will be presented this evening, Eric still is not even reaching the $20 per hour mark. I have a total of 1,492 hours and 25 minutes. For what we were all adjusted last year for, but with that average hours in, that equates just for his planning hours at $16.88. This is a hard subject for me to bring up because I have no interest in having it, but I find anyone that works for this town, that's a really low wage. Putting a salary, I know there's some issues with salaries, and so I'm wanting to have a discussion again on this, as well as every year we get closer to having more manpower needed that we've gone over, so this is going to come up again. But for now, I'd like to either have a slight discussion or set a public hearing date so we can have a full discussion on it. And just to remind, each year, municipalities do an average of 2% increase. We have never done that. I don't really think that we need to necessarily follow any particular rule, but I do feel that those who spend a lot of time and effort do it without wishing they weren't doing it. And, a wage isn't really going to make that, but I know the attempt was trying to get Eric close to $20 an hour for a planning person, and we're still not quite there. Would the council entertain a motion, or excuse me, the idea of having a public hearing to discuss wages? Because we have to have that to be able to change the wage.
I make the motion to schedule a public hearing to discuss wages for employees.
Okay, we have a first motion, do we have a second?
I'll second
And second, any last discussion on it?
Yeah, when you figure that amount, does that include the retirement and the benefits and stuff that he's getting?
I believe, well, it's a good question, but I believe right now that is just taking that from what he bumped up to.
Yeah, that doesn't include the retirement that we
Those portions.
contribute and stuff.
I don't believe that does.
Do you have an idea of how much that is? Well, that just might be good to know when we go to have the public hearing.
Yeah, I do not know. We will have that information for all
it.
of
Yeah,
us.
it's probably a
Sherry
pretty low
probably
percentage.
knows it or whatever.
Retirement's around roughly between $500 and $600 a month.
So all those things to discuss, for sure. And so we had a first and a second. We have some discussion. All in favor?
What date is it?
Yeah, that's right, okay. The date would be just the next council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, just assuming that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So next month, we will have on the agenda discussion on municipal wage. Planning Department report violations and enforcement. I'll turn that over to Eric.
Go boy.
Wake up, everybody.
We've been kind of busy doing some things. You guys probably got some emails. I tried to forward a few of them towards you guys so you would be aware of what was going on in the town. May not have came into, because we went back and forth a little bit on it. So here's what's been going on in April. You guys want one of these?
Sure, huh?
How about back there? Good? Guys? Sure. Reading material? Paper airplane? How about you? Why not, huh? So as you look over that, you give me any questions you got on that, clarify for you.
I just took it down to the sign complaint.
Okay?
So that, we got two there. We have the dog in the town that, I guess they got served, or not served, but a letter to them.
Yes. So I have a copy of that letter for the council. This is a letter that the town sent. And we sent three. One went to another address that the resident did call. And so we resent again. And then I hand delivered one to the door, and that's the one he responded on.
I do know that with this particular folks, I think there's another resident in town that has also gone beyond the town and personally taken care of an issue with that same.
Yeah, there was another incident, and he has been cited. Then the other one we got is the other complaint that you guys probably got an email, although I got bounced back your email and your email for some reason.
John always bounces back on me too.
Does it?
Yeah.
I don't ever send them.
I don't either, I used to just go to Lynn.
So this one
Now I'll go to Mary.
we had the resident was concerned about a building that was being built. So I went out and then responded to him.
So with the picture that I saw and the verbiage, how did you that's kind of a unique little,
Yeah, when I got there, what it was posts stuck around and hammocks strung between the posts. And so as you can see from the letter, I don't know, it probably wasn't the best, but it was Saturday night. So, yeah, his question was, do we regulate? No, at this time, the town does not regulate hammock poles. So, he had some concerns with some other ones. planning commission got that forwarded to them too, so these guys have seen that also.
What was the detail on the dog?
On the dog? The dog, he was aware of that, the kids had let it out that day. When he got home, the garage door was up, they had let it out and it was out running. And so that was the same day that he was cited. And so our letter that went out, that's what we was getting ready to do, was start action against him, because this was an ongoing thing. So February, we had a complaint, and then this was the 1st of March.
Was the citation that was issued, did the town have anything to do with that, or did
No. No.
whoever the complainant was called the animal control directly?
There was a bite, it was the sheriff.
A bite, okay.
Above us.
Yeah, there was a bite, so it was an aggressive dog. And so, I don't know if they've impounded them or not, but he assured me they're not coming out of the garage. So, when I was there, they was in the garage barking, so. But he was aware of it, he was sorry about it, he did apologize, he didn't realize what was going on, but.
Side note here, Eric, does the town have any plans of moving in the direction to control these types of nuisances?
No, I don't think this administration has any, I don't think we're ready to put out some funds for an animal control officer, is that what you're talking about?
Well, or just engage the county's officer. I know there were some issues back and forth, whether we could agree with them or they could, but there are all sorts of nuisance dogs that are getting away with a lot, simply because they say, well, what are you gonna do? You haven't got anybody to come after me. There's some that are out on the highway from my place, there's some that are directly west of my place that are constantly out at large and barking for more than 2 to 3 hours, probably 3 out of 7 nights a week. And there are other dogs that are part of our business community who don't have home occupation licenses that bark continuously at night, and it just seems like it's really a shame that we don't have the ability to have something done about that in a general sense in the town.
So just so you know, I have had a big, long discussion in a group with the county. It's either you fit the mold or you don't. They can't deal with Daniel with what, maybe a few tweaks that we need. It's either all or nothing, and that's why we have not been able, because they limit your animal, they limit your chicken, they limit, I mean, they just, see, if they could flex, it might be really helpful, but they have not at this point.
Mayor, I would request from the town, we figure out some way, whether it's a noise ordinance or a nuisance ordinance or a dog ordinance. I don't think we need to control chickens. They don't seem to be as big a problem. They don't go for hours and hours and hours at nighttime, but the dogs do. And there are businesses out on the highway that keep dogs that I don't believe have a kennel permit, and they may actually be just under the mandatory limit for a kennel, but that doesn't stop the noise. And my belief is that everyone who is a resident of town has a right to their sleep.
So what we could do, we could put that on an agenda and have that as a discussion, and
I think we have this, don't we? We have a noise ordinance.
we do have all the things that he was asking.
And so what we would probably need is a signed complaint that you're having a noise issue. And I think we have things in the works to take care of this.
Is there stuff during the day where you can take a picture?
If I were home during the day, there might.
Okay, gotcha.
I know that the trespassing dogs are pretty much any time that the property owner wants to let them out,
How
they're
about
out.
a game camera?
Well, something like that could be, I suppose, but it's rather a large area, John. It's not just, a patio area. It's-
I know, I understand.
Just trying to think of what discussion, because like I say, as far as the animal control that takes care of it all, that doesn't seem likely that we'd be able to fit in that mold. As far as us doing something ourselves, John mentioned we do have some things that are already that we can deal with. I don't have a problem having a discussion about it at all, so.
And that's why I was asking about what it was on this one. Well, okay, a bite, the deputies are gonna respond, but short of a bite, it's like, well, it's Daniel, we can't do anything.
Right, and it's too bad the old mayor left, he'll tell you how it is. leaning against the back door, is animal control.
Literally.
No, I'm aware, I've been down this road before, it seems to me like it's unfortunate that that is one area that I think really does merit stepping up to. There's a lot of things that special interest groups seem to want to have us step up to that we may or may not be interested in, but I think the dog issue actually is one of them that does.
So Tom, help me understand, why doesn't not what we have in place work?
It's called the deputies, they say it's Daniel, we can't do anything.
No, we have a noise ordinance.
Kind of like what Eric just did to these folks in this letter we just described. I mean, two complaints came in that were written. He went and saw them, he gave them this letter, and it's solved. Well, but this is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it seems to me like, I don't know what else we would do to put something in place to help you, Tom.
Oh, it's not to help
there.
me, John, it's just in
Or to
general.
help, I agree, yeah.
I did get similar complaints a few throughout the year of these neighbors' dogs get along with this one doesn't, they're all mixing, and this does come up.
I don't have dogs anymore, but when I did have dogs, we were kind of at the central point that any dog roaming anywhere came over and got our dogs agitated. And so I'm perhaps a little more sensitive to it than some might, but we didn't have our dogs out at large. And even if a dog doesn't bite someone, if they're out at large, it seems like they irritate and agitate neighbors. That's all my point is that wish there was some way that this were something that was a little more higher level, that if we had even a partial agreement with animal control, that we could say, hey, there's a barking dog, animal control, instead of saying, it's Daniel, we're not gonna deal with it, they could say, we'll be right there, we'll take a look.
Understand? Maybe with the new sheriff coming in.
Yeah, it was changed, maybe I just know, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, that they brought up the relationship between bringing cows out of down Center Creek and having a dog in the front and a dog in the back, and that dog actually is an illegal dog, but even though, so are they gonna take that, arrest that cow dog? And so it all went in a circle, and then our name as a town got brought up, and it says, why don't we all just become like Daniel, and we'll just take care of it ourselves, and kind of facetiously, but, the sheriff did stand up and say, what do you want me to do? You want me to enforce this law and not this law? And so that's kind of where, there's 3 or 4 of us that aren't part of that, and it's, but like I said, I'm open to the discussion.
No, we're walking on eggshells, I'm very well aware of it. But
Maybe a problem.
the group of dogs, okay, and it's not just a dog, but the group of dogs in possession of one owner, okay, and there's 4 or 5 different around, but the group of dogs in possession of one owner in having a, like John or Eric suggests, a neighborly conversation, the conversation went like this, hey, your dogs are trespassing, they come over to my place and get my dogs all agitated and upset, can you keep your dogs on your own property? And the neighbor responded by saying, no, I have really strong feelings about dogs being free, and I'm not going to do that. And so, I don't know, John, that doesn't seem to be within the realm of anything that, one, is legal for a neighbor to say to another neighbor, no, I'm going to continue to let my dogs trespass on your place. And 2, it doesn't seem like there's anywhere we can go with that, especially when you call animal control and say, hey, I got a neighbor with trespassing dogs, and they'd say, flat out, it's Daniel, we can't go out there.
I disagree with what can be done there. If we got a written complaint and that person told the town that I can do whatever with my dog, let it free roam, that problem would be taken care of.
How would that be handled, John?
We'd have a claim taken to Eric, we would find the code, give him the code number and say, hey, if you don't take care of this, just like any other complaint, is taken
When the
care of.
dog's barking all night.
Is there a possibility if they're
Yeah,
coming?
3 times this week already.
Well,
Let me
they bark all
interject,
over the
Eric,
road.
Eric, how do you feel as far as what, with you enforcing it with a letter for the barking dog or something? What we're talking
Well,
about?
if it's noise, if it's.
Well, I think the letter we sent out, that went out, was pretty self-explanatory that if further action's coming,
And so if this went to both folks or the person that you're talking about, Tom, I think, like John said, this might cure that as well.
if I got that reaction when I went out, I would have the sheriff come sign it, and they would be going to court. Now, if that's at your place, at my place, we handle that differently if the owner says that, the dog's not coming home. So, that's how it works down at my house.
The other possibility is line trap, and the sheriff picked it up.
But I understand your concern, we got a few calls. And I don't think this is over yet, that discussion's over yet.
No, and that's why I'm bringing it up, is that as a resident, certainly if I have that feeling, there's others that have it too. I would really appreciate the town to be open to looking at whatever common ground we can get to with animal control. And
What I'll do, when we don't have a packed agenda, we'll have this on the agenda and we'll be able to discuss it.
thank you.
But I think, Tom, also educate your neighbors. Educate them that we do have ordinances, we do have rules, we do have things that people can't do. And all you have to do is write a complaint and send it to our planning. There is a process.
You had something with the sheriff, didn't you? Was that over dogs?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was it?
yeah. And it's a joke.
So see, I wasn't involved in this one. But I heard you say that when he was here, that you had come to an understanding with one of the deputies.
So what was it?
You don't have to expand on that.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I was just thought that.
It didn't occur in Daniel, it didn't occur in
Oh.
the residence, it didn't occur in the town of Daniel.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I would, along those lines, be very careful with that, the people who do enforce those codes, I'm trying to think of them, who you're trying to get us to work with.
Animal control.
Animal control, sorry. There are some rules there, Tom, that I'd like to share with you maybe after my experience with what I had with them.
They are not user-friendly.
Not even close.
Okay, Eric?
I'll share you with mine.
Which is kind of some of the reason why some of this is soft pedal, John. You know, if you play hardball, you get a certain group of experiences. If you soft pedal it, you get a few different experiences.
This is a letter that went out with the refund to Mike Ashby. So you're aware of what that went out with your refund check? Did anybody have any other questions on the planning? You okay there? Okay, so I wanted to make you guys aware that well, tomorrow we have interlocal at Heber City, interlocal meeting. On the 10th, we have a Heber City Corporation Planning is holding a public hearing. So if anybody wants to go to that, I have a couple of these. If anybody wants to go to that hearing, what they're doing is looking at changing the zone at the corner of Highway, well, right where we're talking about this zone change. This is the new density that they're proposing. So there's a lot of houses going in there.
Is this tomorrow or Thursday?
This is Thursday,
Okay,
10th.
yes.
So, I really thought there'd be some folks here too that would maybe be interested in this, but as you can see, the density in there, they're changing that from medical park to high density and low density residential. It's very impactful, as far as traffic will be on that road, it will be,
I agree, I'll be there.
it'll be big. And then I just got a couple other things, the Ford property, everybody familiar with the old Ford property? This is what they're planning on doing on the Ford property. They'll be adding, well, with the one there, 13 lots on the Ford property. So that's right there, right on the edge of Daniel. That is, they went for a zone change. The zone change did not go through. This is what the current zoning allows for. Okay, just so you're aware of that, the public hearing for that one is also coming up on the 10th. I attended the weed board.
I've got a question about that. Does Heber notify all the property owners in a certain radius, like we had to.
That 500 feet should be the rule, right?
There are signs up. that
But
there's
shouldn't
a-
we get a public, or a written notice? Because I haven't received the written notice as a property.
Well,
owner.
like the people, I think in Heber Meadows received it, I've talked to a couple of those people. I do have one question about this, I think I asked Chip, do we not have an agreement, or we did at one time, that, some sort of gentleman's agreement where Heber butting up to Daniel needs to be 1 acre lots? And Chip told me I've done it up, so.
No, you did, you heard that somewhere. Where that came about was, we went to the boundary commission on the annexation up against the side of the Daniel, down by the Ford property where we're talking about this one here. So all this high density was coming up against the Daniel. So that developer went in, we went to the boundary commission, they agreed to put 1 acre parcels up against there
Okay.
on that development with Richmond Homes, I believe it was. And the only reason I think that they did that, I shouldn't say this in the meeting, but they needed an easement down Daniel Road for the sewer. So they were more inclined to work with the town of Daniel. There's no agreement. That's the problem when boundaries come together.
Okay.
Lots of wishful thinking and hopeful, and we'll try, and we'll try to work with you, but
Thing you probably ought to know about that is Heber City in that zone, the setback from the side is 5 feet.
Literally.
5 feet from the rear. So it's impactful a lot. I mean, the residents should be upset about this, not our zone change. That's gonna be a lot. But as you can see on that map, they have taken into consideration the new design on the future lighted intersection.
I still don't think that my question was answered.
so within 500 feet, you should, I don't know if you're in that 500 or if they're your property, but you would normally get a letter, physical letter as well.
Then, that being said, maybe we did fall short of it. And I'm just wondering if Heber City recognized the people outside of their zone, out of their building, not their building, but their property.
Their town boundary.
Or not. They should.
They should. My understanding is property owners within that 500 feet, not town boundaries are separated.
I was not here to ask her, Shirley.
I know on my property, I did get letters when that happened to me over on where I'm at, so I did get a letter. That's why I kind of feel like you should probably have it if you're within that 500 feet.
Probably must just be falling short of it. Okay, thank you.
And so another meeting I went to was the county weed board on the 18th. They did cut the funding $16,000 this year in the budget. When I went to the budget hearing with the county, when I pointed that out, that was a big hit. What they have is RAC monies. They've been able to secure another loan, another grant, and it will be between $30,000 and $45,000. So the RAC is what they use to go up and spray with helicopters up and around. So that'll be, I mean, that's not a lot of money for a helicopter fly, but at least it's gonna help. So they was able to do that. They are gonna have a couple of projects, this yellow star thistle out in Strawberry Valley, and up on this end, they're gonna do 10 days of plant spraying. So they're looking for volunteers to do that. And then,
Eric, on that, you have to be licensed on that?
no, just, all you have to be is, there has to be a licensed person there, but they're just supervising, so. Yeah, they take anybody that should come out on those days. But this is what I wanted to show you. Mick was here, and he was talking about the county. The weed board is looking at putting one of these logos on signs up on all the trailheads. So they're trying to get their own letterhead, which doesn't go with the counties at all. So the individual, you know how we was talking about with all gonna, it appears it is not.
Trying to conform, but it's
Yeah.
not conform.
Yeah, and so they were looking at that. They did add grazing control to the county weed plan, and that might be something that we want to look at to put in our weed plan.
Like using goats to keep it down kind of thing.
Goats, cows, whatever your grazing plan is, So that might be something we want to look at. They've sent that back to the council for adoption. We did a couple of word changes on it, but other than that, it looked pretty good, so they put a lot of work into it.
The goats eat that spurge.
They do.
Do
They do.
do.
They love that spur.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, any other questions from, everybody happy? I'd like.
Okay, that would be item number 7, which would be planning department report violations and enforcement. Kim, Daniel Municipal water issues is necessary on number item 8. Anything on Daniel Municipal that's kind of come up? I know that,
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it. We're gonna spend some money, that's what we're talking about. Daniel?
For Daniel, okay.
Yeah. But can I back up just a minute? Mary, when is the public hearing on wages? June what?
20th.
No,
No, it's the first.
that's the Armstrong. The next,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the next
You're right.
meeting is our
June
wait.
4th.
Next council meeting.
Sorry.
And that date is June,
Should be the 4th.
Monday, June.
okay, first Monday, that's good.
Well, it's, I think,
Yeah, it's June
yeah.
4th.
That's
Yeah,
right.
June 4th.
Thank you. The county has been able to find some equipment time to put meters on the fire hydrant that hasn't been metered, that they use to fill their trucks up and wash with.
We're talking about their facility now.
Right,
Okay.
down the transfer station. And then it was also suggested at that time that we look at the other water situation that has to do, now they've split the county transfer station from the county public works. So you have two different budgets. So actually, we're gonna change a meter out, and I called the mayor on this, the council members will want to know this, but it looked like the county was doing all of this work, putting in the 2 meters, doing the dig, putting in the valves, paying for the engineering. And they had requested, if they do all of that, is it possible for the town of Daniel to buy one of the 4-inch meters? So I called the mayor, we talked about that a little bit. And it's a $2,500 to $2,900 item, so it's fairly expensive. But the mayor decided that with that type of a limit, that would be possible, so I just wanted to bring it up to the council.
I could explain that if anyone would like to, with regards to if any meter we were to put in for any service, we would be paying for that meter anyway, right there at the hookup line. And that would be, most of the reason behind it is we'd be buying somebody else's meters as well. And the county did do an awful lot of work. And, you know, at the end of the day, if we don't want to pay a tip for tap back for the snow removal going up. We've got a great price on lots of services. They've been treating us great. I think we've got a really good relationship, and so that would be the reason.
And
They
are
don't belabor, you got a
buying-
hell of a deal.
They are buying one of the 4-inch meters also. Then the other item that you might want to think about is, once you're able to meter that water, what are you going to charge the county? I mean, they have said that they possibly use between 500,000 and 700,000 gallons a month.
That's the figures I've heard.
And keep in mind that they also do our snow removal. And they do a good job of that, and I think we've been treated fair. So I haven't talked with Gary Walton, the manager of the water department, but I would think that if we could get our costs covered with that, that would be reasonable. And at the same time, I wouldn't want to give the water away because that jeopardizes some other entity that might want to come in.
Well, I know there'll be some discussion on what you're exactly talking about for that facility. I mean,
So
Plan
that's a discussion down the road, maybe in a month or two. We could put it on the agenda.
Are you saying trade snow removal for water or something?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying that we need to look at a rate and
Okay.
take those things into consideration.
okay.
So you might want to put that on the agenda.
Just make a note. Anything else?
Storm?
With Daniel,
That's it for Daniel.
okay?
Chip, just before you leave that, I believe the other commercial entities are buying their own meters in the town of Daniel.
I know the other two had, but I mean, then you're talking the two big ones? Right.
All of our commercial buy their own meters.
I heard that, depending on the size and about what, yeah.
Yeah, the town furnished the 3/4 meter. But anybody that wanted that, we haven't typically done that. But I was curious, so if we're doing 2 4s, where are the 4s going? Can you,
We rewired the existing meter, and we're still gonna try to identify what kind of lines coming into that. I don't know for sure. But that did not read on the June, or excuse me, the May 1st reading. It didn't pick up, so the town has a meter in there that doesn't work. And,
But that's the one we've been talking about for years, right?
yes,
yeah,
so in essence,
so is that one a 4-inch meter? Is that what you're thinking?
that's what we're thinking, and that's gonna be replaced. It's not, it's a new meter, but it's gonna replace an old meter.
And then we're putting one up at the other end,
And they're paying for all that.
up at the other end. So we're just buying a meter for the one that's gone bad down in the vault.
Right.
And they're furnishing the excavation.
And the vault.
Or we're gonna put in the vault now?
A bigger vault, so it's got a 2.5-inch vault in it now. You can get down to get those.
Yeah.
It's going to work in the bottom road, it's real tough.
Oh, it's deep right there too. They built that up a long way.
8 or 9 feet.
Yeah. So we won't know, if we're replacing that meter, we still won't know whether that building comes off before or after that meter.
No, we're gonna still dig it. We're gonna dig it.
You can see, my understanding is we are gonna find out. And I do know from the county side, I mean, they have no problem, I mean, the words were, I think, whatever water we use, we want to pay for it. Now, we have a rate issue, but, you know, they have no qualms, you know, paying for the water.
Yeah, I don't get the whole thing, why they don't get along and just share the meters, but, okay.
Well, it's,
Two
you're a
budgets.
taxpayer.
Two
You'd like to
budgets.
see money.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, it's crazy, but, all right.
They tell me, Eric, that it's due to 2 different budgets. They each have their own budget. That's what
And I believe that, yeah. But, boy, it's crazy. All right, very good, thank you.
Okay, number 9, Storm Haven.
Storm Haven, we paid $950 to take out a big pine tree because we were almost certain that the water line ran right underneath it and out towards the street. Well, when we dug the meter up and looked for the leak, we found out the water line was 30 feet inside, or 30 feet from the road edge into the properties. Then we also found out that line is a Schedule 20, which is really thin stuff. And it's a 2-inch right there, but at that point it reduces down to 1.5 inches, and it feeds another 5 homes. And it also is a Schedule 20, so,
PVC.
yeah. So we had GDA come up and, what is it when you do the satellite stuff?
GPS.
GDA, thank you. They spotted that line, and we know where it is in front of that particular house. But,
So was it in the tree line, or was it outside the tree line?
well, it depends on where, you have the road, the tree, then the line.
So it's not out in the frontage at all?
No, no.
See, that's what my map showed, back inside of those.
Yes, but we marked that line out by the street.
Right, we witched it,
Yeah.
and that's where, there's something out there, I don't know if it's a gas
Yeah.
line or.
But you've got a real mess when you go to repair those lines because they're inside everybody's property.